102 FM. Game On's Fantasy Football.
You're very welcome along to the Game On Fantasy Football podcast. Yes, we're having a sneaky little Game Week 14 here at the start of the week. Anyone downloading this podcast is ahead of your competitors because they might have even forgotten there's a game week happening. I'm very glad to say, joined as usual by the lads from Fantasy Premier League Transfers.com. Phil McGrath's here in studio, and I'm glad to say that Paul Caffrey joins us from Landing in it. Good morning.
How's it going, mate? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic.
Young
So
Philip?
what's happening?
How are you?
Yeah.
I just watched Phil eat breakfast. It was very impressive.
Methinks me yet too much.
He's having the meat sweats here in front of me, Paul. Right.
Might not be a productive podcast.
I think it will. Right. Well, we're all up this early in the morning, so let's hope we get productive fairly quickly. Let us have a quick look back at Game Week 13 before we crack into Game Week 14. And lads, I'll just run down through some of the results. Villa and Sunderland, a scoreless draw. Sunderland
saw that
stopped
coming?
the rot. Cardiff City 0, Arsenal 3. Ramsey, I suppose, with all the plaudits from that one. Everton 4, Stoke City 0. Cracking game from Everton. Lukaku on the score sheet again. But there's some other heroes there for Everton. We'll come back to that in a minute. Norwich 1-0 victors over Crystal Palace. An important 3 points for Norwich. West Ham 3-0 victors over Fulham, and Martin Yall is now gone. Newcastle 2-1 winners over West Brom. Newcastle just can't stop winning. Loic Remy did stop scoring though briefly this week. Spurs 2, Manchester United 2. A lot of people looking at that game yesterday. Hull City 3, Liverpool 1. The surprise of the weekend, no doubt, and a great Hull City performance. Liverpool were fairly bad, not to dig in from Hull. Chelsea 3-1 winners over Southampton. Took their time, Chelsea, yesterday, but eventually they came out on top. And Manchester City, who would have thunk it, another 3-0 victory over Swansea. Predictable enough, but the scoreline anyway. But and a Sergio Aguero not scoring, another surprise of the week. Right, that is Game Week 13 done. Phil, I know you had a great Saturday, not such a good Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday was going pretty well for me. Sitting pretty. Happy out. 55 points. 5 players left to play on Sunday with my captain still to go. And a grand total of 7 on Sunday.
Well, still wasn't bad scoring overall.
Yeah, but when you're looking at 55 points on a Saturday, you're thinking, I'm on for a very good score this week, not just slightly above average.
You captained Aguero, same as me.
Yep.
Okay, Paul, how did you get on?
Yeah, I did fairly well. With 66 points, but again, Aguero captain, so that brought it back down. Having said that, I mean, I brought in John Terry as a sneaky outside punt, and he picked up 11 points, so nice considering they conceded. And then obviously Ramsey and Ozil were just spectacular, and Rooney got us 2 goals, so can't complain.
Well, don't complain then. Right, that is Game Week 13 looked back at. Let's look ahead to Game Week 14 now. All right, Phil, as usual, we're going to have 3 focused games. Where do you want to start? Methinks the Emirates.
No.
Go on then.
I will come to the Emirates though, so
All right.
you're not far off. But no, we'll start Southampton against Villa.
Okay.
There's a couple of things in this one, I suppose. The main reason is that Villa just can't score at the moment, and Southampton, they have lost the last 2, and they'll be looking to bounce back now and get back to winning ways. And kind of, we fancy Southampton to do quite well in this one. Looking at their form going into it, the Saints have 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats in the last 6, whereas Villa have only won 1 of their last 6, but have picked up 3 draws. The stats would suggest it's not going to be a game full of goals. The Saints have only managed 11 goals in 6 home games, and Villa have scored 7 goals in 6 away games. But the Saints have only conceded 2 at home all season, which is probably the best home record in the league at the moment, whereas Villa have conceded 5 during their 6 away games. But both sides are managing clean sheets home and away respectively, with the Saints picking up 4 at St Mary's, and then Villa picking up 3 on their travels so far. There is a couple of words of caution in this one for fantasy managers. Early reports suggest that Boric has broken a finger. So he could be out of action for a couple of weeks.
So that leaves, with Kelvin Davis already on the long-term injury list, that leaves a young man by the name of Paulo Casaniglia. in
Yeah.
goal for Southampton.
Yeah, listen, I wouldn't be looking to bring him in.
Well, I'd be careful. I think Davis might be, his return is imminent, I believe. So I don't know who's going to actually play between the two of them. So I think it's not worth picking either of them because you just don't know at the minute.
Yeah, in all fairness, Kelvin Davis is expected back for the 4th, which would have him back for the game, but he's still red on the game, so keep an eye on that. At the back, I suppose the usual. I suppose if we expect that Southampton will.
Yeah, I think you would fancy the Saints for a clean sheet at home, so you'd be looking at the usual suspects: Lovren, Klein, Shaw. I think Lallana in the midfield is one to look at, and then up front, Ricky Lambert didn't start the weekend. He came on and got 24 minutes.
Jay Rodriguez, he took his time getting the goal, didn't he?
Yeah, it took him a while.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
all 13 seconds.
13 seconds. Yes.
But I mean, the ironic bit is that despite only playing 24 minutes of the weekend, Ricky Lambert is Southampton's most informed player. So you'd have to maybe expect him to come back into the lineup and could be a differential, I suppose, for a third striker option this weekend. Villa, of course, they've only managed 4 goals in the last 7 games in total, which is pretty poor, and that kind of coincides with Benteke hasn't scored since game week 4. I know he was injured for part of that, but you'd have to fancy Southampton to win this. They won the corresponding fixture last year 4-1. Something similar wouldn't be overly optimistic.
Well, they're playing Benteke a little bit out of position, which need to be considered. So they're playing the new lad up front. His name is
Kozak.
now. They're playing Kozak and then Benteke in behind them. It's leading to Benteke kind of being around the centre circle for a lot of the game, at least in the games that I saw him play last week. So with that in mind, until Lambert actually puts him back as the main striker, I'd be very reluctant to look at him.
Yeah, I mean, well, personally, I don't really mind where he plays as long as he scores, but he's not scoring, so he doesn't play, if that makes sense.
It does make perfect sense. Simple logic. That's always your strong point.
I'm not sure if I like that.
Yeah, it's too early in the morning.
A compliment cloak to something else.
I'll get away with a few of them in the morning.
You might do, just in the morning. But yeah, I mean, you've got to fancy Southampton in this one, really. It's the usual suspects at the back, Lallana in the midfield, and then I'm not sure if Rodriguez will start ahead of Lambert this week. I think we could see Lambert return.
All right, and not really touching with Aston Villa with a pitchfork, Paul. I take it.
No. There's nothing there at Villa at the moment. I suppose out of all the backline players, Luke Shaw left back, the attacking left back, he will get some good points, and he's only 4.8 million, so he will be the Southampton defender of choice for myself.
All right. It looks like we should move on to the second featured game, which this week will be at
The Emirates.
The Emirates.
We got there
about
eventually.
time. You could have just agreed with me and started with Arsenal. You know,
No.
you're a difficult person.
Yes, at this hour of the morning, I can be whatever I want to be.
Right, Emirates. So it is.
Yeah.
What a surprise.
Well, obviously, Arsenal are still going great guns. They've only lost 1 of their last 6 with 5 wins. Hull, of course, with that impressive 3-1 victory over Liverpool at the weekend. But they have lost 4 of the last 6, Hull. So, but both of the wins they have achieved have been at home. And they've only got 1 win on the road all season. So despite the fact that they put in a sterling shift against Liverpool, I wouldn't expect too much.
So basically, what we're going to say here is they're happy with their points return. They've targeted a few games at home. They've come off for them. They're currently flying high for a club that's just promoted. 17 points after 13 games. It's very good. They're in the top half of the table. This isn't a game they're going to continue to get points from.
It looks highly unlikely for me. Arsenal are free scoring at home. They've 13 goals in 6 games, and Hull have actually conceded 13 goals during their 6 away games and have yet to keep a clean sheet in the road. Ramsey, of course, scored twice to break his 2-game duck. It's mad.
Crisis.
Yeah, but only 3 of his 8 goals and 1 of his 4 assists have come at home. So the stats could suggest that perhaps we will see Ramsey cool off this week despite the easy home fixture. And here's one for you. Mesut Ozil completed every single pass he attempted in the opposition's half in the first half of their game against Cardiff. So every pass he made over the halfway line in the first half, he completed. It's just fantastic. And only one of Olivier Giroud's 18 Premier League goals have been scored outside of London. 4 of his 7 this season have come at home. So we kind of expect him to do quite well this week, and it could be one to watch. For those looking at Hull, not really a whole lot there. Sunday's game against Liverpool was only the second time this season they've managed to score 2 or more Premier League goals. And for those who've decided David Moyler might be worth a look after his performance, no. He's only made 8 appearances all season. 6 of those have come on. He's come on as a sub, so I wouldn't be expecting too much from him. And for those who have Curtis Davis in their back line, he picked up his 5th yellow and is now suspended for this one.
All right, so not really a whole lot of hope there for Hull.
No, you'd have to fancy the Arsenal back line midfield for Arsenal.
Yeah, all right. Well, we've spoken about all the players from Arsenal over the last few weeks. No point in going through them all again. The third focus game of game week 14, Paul?
Yeah, we're going to have a look at Manchester United versus Everton. Obviously, David Moyes' his team has come to visit Old Trafford. If we had to focus on United, 3 wins, 3 draws.
That old great joke about David Moyes having spent so long to get Everton above Manchester United, and this season he does it in just a couple of weeks it took him.
Oh yeah, and it's been there for the whole season. 2 points ahead and the whole 4 places ahead. They're sitting in 5th as they normally do. I wonder how many people are brave enough to say it to him. I'd say you might get more than a smile from him. If we look at it, I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at it. I mean, there's a positive way that Manchester United are unbeaten, 3 wins, 3 draws. Whoever draws against Tottenham, draws against Cardiff, are really frustrating the fans and also fancy managers backing their backline. Over the last 6 home games, scored 8 goals. They have, however, conceded 5 during that period. It was 3 clean sheets at home this season. If we look at Rooney, he's obviously the form player. He's everyone, I suppose, gives him plaudits every single game week at this point. 8 goals, 5 assists in his last 10, and he's also the second highest scorer in the Premier League for one club with 149 goals. Only Henry has more for Arsenal at 175. Obviously, Van Persie didn't figure the weekend. It's still very unclear as to whether he's going to figure this weekend. Now, in contrast, and if we look at Everton, pretty much very similar record. 3 wins, 3 draws in the last 6 as well. So they're coming into unbeaten over the last 6. 8 goals in the last 6 away games. However, they've conceded 7 during those. Obviously, there's 3 clean sheets away from home for Everton, which is very, very good. Oviedo actually played left back for Baines this week. The new kid, Deulofeu, came from Barcelona, took Barkley's spot in midfield and was absolutely excellent, and probably one of the key reasons they actually won by so many goals versus Stoke last week.
He was brilliant, great player.
Spectacular stuff, absolutely.
I'm absolutely disgusted.
Why are we thinking of bringing him in?
No, I'm not going to tell you that. No, but I heard he was starting and thought to myself, "Geez, he'd be worth a punter, first goal scorer." And then I was doing something at home and completely forgot about it till I heard him. He was the first guy, and I kind of went,
What was the price?
I didn't even look. I didn't get that far. I was, to be honest with you, I think I was in the middle of doing the hoovering.
Good.
That's how good it was.
That's sad.
I kind of thought to myself, I must have a look at that, and then forgot about it.
Domestic bliss.
Absolutely.
So, obviously up front, Lukaku, a lot of people will have him. They're not going to bring Deulofeu on the basis of one game, although he's definitely worth putting on your watch list and just keeping an eye on him for that price. 5.4 at the moment.
But the problem is he's listed as a striker, but he's playing midfield, and obviously if he's getting returns, okay, yeah, you can kind of look at it. But if it was a midfielder, yeah, great, he'd be perfect for your cheap midfielder who's gonna.
Are we going to go near the real midfield of Everton, as in the game? Morales, Barkley, sort of
it's
not
hard
favoured.
It's hard to. Morelos was dropped, which I
Barkley
was
was dropped.
very surprised, and Barkley was dropped, and Barkley had a good game in the Merseyside derby, so I was surprised to see him dropped as well.
I was very annoyed at that. I had him in my team, and when I heard they won 4-0, I thought, points in. He's had 0.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is hard to tell. But I suppose the good thing from Everton point of view is the fact that they can make changes like that, and it doesn't seem to have a great effect on them. But I mean, no, I'd probably steer clear at the moment. I think if Deulofeu was going to get more game time, maybe we can consider him. But for at the moment, I think no. And obviously then Oviedo, who was a midfielder playing left back, there's no point in having him really, because if even if Everton do keep the clean sheet, he's not going to get the points. So
if you have any Everton defenders, a lot of people will have Coleman or Jagielka or Distan or even Baines, obviously, who won't be playing. But you're not going to back Everton for a clean sheet this week, are you?
No, I don't think you can. United at home, despite their recent problems, are still doing quite well.
Score.
Yeah, so they're still doing well. I don't think you can get back against United to score. I think if Van Persie comes back as well, I think that rate is going to, the chance that they will score will rise. He's still 75% with a groin injury. But yeah, I think this one will have goals in it. It's very much a case of trying to pinpoint where they come from. I think Rooney's one to look at. Obviously, if Van Persie's back, I wouldn't be rushing to bring him in, but if I have him, I'd be playing him. And then Lukaku hit a blank 2 weeks ago. Does well in the Merseyside derby. scores again at the weekend. And he had to wait a while for his goal as well.
God bless you.
And he was literally coming off. I mean, that was his last kick of the game. You could see that Jelavic was waiting in the wings to come on and managed to get his goal. And he actually, believe it or not, has the best minutes per goal rate in Premier League history. Of anyone who scored a minimum of 20 goals, Lukaku has the best minutes per goal ratio at 117 minutes a goal.
Tell that to Jose.
Hey, Jose.
Don't know what that accent was about to be, but I think Phil had the good sense to stop it before it got going.
So yeah, I mean,
sounded a little bit like someone from Mexico doing a very bad Mexican accent.
Yeah,
maybe he was about to say gringo at some point.
Gringo. Yeah. This one's got to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it for many reasons, but I think there are points to be had. All
right, Paul, anything to add before we move to best of the rest?
Yeah, I suppose a couple of things. I suppose Ryan Giggs scored in this fixture last
in 1976
and 78, 80. He didn't play the weekend. I'd expect him to come back in for this game. So a sneaky outside punt, 5.1 million if you had a free transfer to throw him in for the week that's in it, someone to have a look at. And then obviously, look, Ever is always getting attacking points, so he's someone to hold on to. I suppose another point just to raise, there's a lot of teams in the Premier League who aren't used to playing Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. And there's a number of things. Their training gets thrown out. They're not used to preparing for games in such a short period of time, doing the offensive drills. I think there's some of these teams just to watch out for who maybe aren't used to it, who you can look at maybe either doing this game or else on Saturday where they'll fall short. And the teams with a bit more experience playing in Europe will come to the front and actually do a little bit better. So that's just something to be mindful of when you're looking at the fixtures this week.
Right, let us move to best of the rest. Let's start with, I thought might make the three focus games, but we shall start with Liverpool. Seems like an obvious one to start at home to Norwich. Norwich on the back of a good home victory over Crystal Palace, but this might be a little bit much for them to chew. Yeah,
I think you said it at the top of the show we were kind of looking at last week. Not to take anything away from Hull, but Liverpool were fairly ordinary last week. The big worry for me, and it's a conversation that's been had in the past 12 hours or so amongst a few of us, is that with Sturridge out, Suarez could suffer. He was very well marked. They had against Hull, and the worry is that without Sturridge there to kind of provide a bit of distraction amongst the defenders for Suarez, Suarez could be very easily marked out of a game because he's their only real main threat. Now, I thought when Coutinho came on, he gave them a little bit something.
I was very surprised. Yeah, he only got 25 minutes.
Yeah, we didn't see him sooner. I was actually surprised he didn't start.
Me too.
I'm surprised that we didn't see him sooner. So that would be my worry, is that we could see Suarez's returns diminish. However, looking at his returns on the road anyway, Suarez hasn't been great. So he is more of a home board. But you'd have to fancy him to do well. And you're not gonna drop him, but you'd have to fancy Liverpool for a clean sheet going into this one, I think. Paul, what do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you there. If you look at Norwich, on the road they've won one game out of the last 6. Of the last 3 they've conceded 13. Now that is brought up 7 by Man City, but they also got whopped by Arsenal. By Arsenal as well. So look, it's a week. You have Suarez, you're going to play. You're probably going to think of bringing him in and making him captain if you don't. Then outside that, I suppose we've kind of argued every week Coutinho is a little bit too expensive for what he'll bring you. And then looking at Liverpool defender, I'd be looking again. I think Flanagan would be worth a look. And then obviously you're going to play Mignolet if you have Mignolet.
That's right. That's at Norwich for me. I know Hooper was on the score sheet last week. Slightly fortuitous in the way the ball came to him, but I mean, he done well finished. But there's nothing standing out for me at Norwich at the moment, and that's got to be a real concern for Chris Hughton, because he doesn't have any star play. There's no one there that you think could genuinely turn a game for them. Leroy Ferrer's been good, but his good performances have been few and far between, and you just can't back them for anything at the moment.
Let us move to Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace and West Ham United. Not a whole lot of players on view here. A lot of people have Morrison as that cheap midfielder. There's no really one else that strikes me. No,
I mean, obviously Tony Pulis has come in, and I thought Palace played alright the weekend.
There's no one you're going to bring in though.
But there isn't. No, there's no one there for me at the moment that's likely to do a whole lot. I think you're right. Morrison is probably your best option in this game for West Ham. He came off the bench last week. A little disappointed to see he didn't start. Rather surprised, but came off the bench, got an assist nevertheless. And surprisingly enough, I suppose West Ham scored 3 goals.
Yeah.
Considering the amount of attempts they've had so far this season and the fact that they haven't got strikers, they did quite well with Joe Cole coming off the bench getting a goal and Carlton Cole coming off the bench and getting a goal. So, I mean, good substitutions, I suppose you can argue from Big Sam. 3 players he brings on all have an impact.
Bags of coal.
I think it's one of those things where you have to. It's about time to be brought on. Carlton Cole in particular. And obviously there was that big fuss when he kind of left the club for a period, and then he was re-signed. And West Ham have no strikers. And this has been spoken about week after week after week. Yeah, he's there. He's banging goals in matches behind closed doors and just not getting on the pitch. Okay, he got on for 10 minutes. He got his goal. He even got 2 bonus points, which is staggering considering he's only on the pitch for such a brief amount of time. It's one to watch. If he starts getting a run, we know Carlton Cole might not be the most prolific striker, but if he's the one who's getting given all the chances, he can well go on runs like he has for West Ham in the past. And at 5 million, he's somebody that I'd be keeping an eye on.
What about a lot of people have a keen interest in Guy Demel as well? 4.9 as a defender. I think he scored 8 points yesterday, bonus of 2 as well. He's quite a high scoring defender, but anyway, he's just one for the general watch list, I suppose. Yeah,
I wouldn't be rushing out. I mean, having said that, in this one, yeah, you could. I mean, you could look to West Ham for a clean sheet, I suppose, but you'd have to fancy Pulis' first game in charge at home. He's gonna send them at attack, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Phillips start alongside Shamak in this one. I'm looking for that, steady hand, I suppose, as it were.
From Pulis' new team to their old team, and 2 of the most glamorous cities in Britain going head to head, Stoke City and Cardiff City. Cardiff definitely being one of the more fun cities in Britain. Stoke not being one of the most fun cities in Britain.
There's not a whole lot in this for me, really. There's not one sticking out. We know Nzonzi's been doing quite well of late. No, there's nothing jumping out at me now that I kind of want to grab.
No, I suspected so. Let's move to Sunderland and Chelsea. Paul, I suppose Gus Poyet has stopped the quick rot at Sunderland, but they need to start scoring points, and this game week's fixture isn't the best one for that.
No, it's certainly not. I actually like to look at Chelsea for over the next couple of weeks. I think they have a few fixtures where you can get certainly get some fantasy points from.
What is it you like about the most? Is it the good haircuts? Is it the blue jerseys?
I think it's the haircut. It's the giving assists to the opposition.
It's very generous. All right.
Just a bit of drama there. They've got little Oscar getting injured. There's always something happening in Stamford Bridge, and they're going away to Sunderland. They're going away to Stoke. They're at home to Palace over the next 3 games. So I just think to go with that drama, they're going to have a lot of fantasy points.
And what about that Demba Ba, huh?
Yeah, you look very, very happy to get that goal. He should get more chances. I don't know why he doesn't. Obviously, I don't see him getting too much of a run, so sadly that's probably just going to be a passing goal to remember us of the times when he was a man for your fantasy team, but he is no longer. Hopefully he'll get a move somewhere in January when he can become relevant again, because he's just not at Chelsea. So I think a few clean sheets. So I brought in, of all players, John Terry, and in fairness he scored last week. But again, I think a couple of Chelsea defenders are good value. And then from that, we saw Mata come back, was a little bit off form, so I wouldn't quite go there. But there certainly are a couple of players there that you'd look at bringing in. And I think actually if you look at over this, Chelsea have a good run, Manchester United have a good run. You've got Arsenal, Liverpool, they actually have some difficult fixtures coming up. So the league is going to look very, very different. But I think also the players who are delivering the fantasy points, that's going to kind of shift over the coming weeks as well. So it's just something to be mindful of. If you're overexposed to either Liverpool or Arsenal, that could change the points return that you've been seeing over the last few weeks.
Let's hope it does.
Yeah, I suppose one of the main worries I have for this one is Oscar going off injured before half time last weekend.
The game says he's fine.
So far, yeah, he seems to have twisted his ankle. Where the early reports coming out, but no, I've done some digging this morning and I can't find anything further than that. So I'll have to wait and see. But it's an
old salsa injury, yes.
That's around that's a 6 to 11 day recovery point if he's a twisted ankle.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if he'd even be risked in this fixture.
Well, that's what I mean. They like, without any disrespect to Sunderland, Chelsea can afford to rest him and still do quite well.
Sometimes with a twisted ankle, you're better off running on it.
I don't know about
If
that.
if the swelling isn't too much, it's true. You can run things off.
Oh,
No, you can't.
is that with the magic sponge as well?
Yeah, it depends on the swelling.
Yeah.
I can just imagine you manage an underage football team there. Go on, run that broken leg off there. Go on, Jesus.
Most important thing is to go out there and enjoy yourselves.
And not lose.
But no, I mean, Chelsea. I think Paul's right. Chelsea are looking good, and the way the fixtures are shifting as well, we could see a lot more from them. And in fairness to them, they've now won 8 points from losing positions in the league this season. That's more than any other club. So they might go behind, but they seem to have the bottle to come back and do a job.
Away to Sunderland, it poses its own problems because Sunderland are, well, under Gus Poyet, they have been much more difficult to break down, lads. I mean, if we're gonna play Chelsea players, I suppose we have to keep an eye on Oscar, but it is Oscar and Hazard in that middle. We're not really talking about any new players here, are we?
Well, I'd like to see Matta get more game time. I know he wasn't great the weekend, but in his last 2 Premier League starts at Stamford Bridge, they were against Cardiff and Southampton, he's created a combined 10 clear-cut goal-scoring chances. That's pretty good going for a man who's getting limited game time. It still irks me that he isn't getting more game time because I'd have him in there. I think he genuinely.
Mrs. Matta is not impressed either.
I know, she was telling me.
Yeah.
Not happy at all. With the fact he's not playing football.
Yes.
Just to
So
clarify.
she's just sitting around the house wrecking her head, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Always
Right,
there
yeah.
under her feet,
At
He's
least,
that small as well,
at least she's a shoulder to cry on.
Doing the Hoover and all that.
Yeah.
He didn't say where he was doing the hoovering, Paul, did he?
No.
There's one now. Hey, right, and let's talk about Sunderland then, swiftly.
There's nothing there
There's
for me.
nothing there.
No.
No. Right, the Swansea Newcastle. We have to talk about this one. I mean, it's intriguing when Newcastle on some run, was it three wins in a row?
Yeah, I think it's more than that. Yeah.
But they're away to Swansea. Swansea on a bad run. They really need to stop a rot. They have a rot going on.
Yeah, well, they're
officially.
missing a lot of players. They're missing Boney, Michu. Interesting, Vorm was dropped the weekend. No injury, no nothing. Brought in Tremmel. Didn't see it coming.
Trevor wasn't very good for the goals either.
No, he
That
wasn't.
seemed a bit of a stupid idea. It was tactical.
Possibly.
Shelby looked the best of their midfielders. De Guzman missed a sitter.
Yeah.
So, but they really are missing that.
Yeah, they're missing Michu. Not so much Boney. I think they were all right without him, but they're missing Michu. They're missing that spark in the midfield. Again, it's someone to kind of draw the eye of the defenders. That opens up the space for the likes of Shelby and De Guzman and Dyer to come through. So yeah, but I mean, Newcastle obviously have been on an impressive run. For me, I don't know. I'd be tempted for a clean sheet in this one. But then again, something is telling me Swansea at home, would have to score, but I'm not so sure. I'd err on the side of caution with that one, but I think Kabay is worth a look, and obviously Remy didn't score last time out, which we're a bit disappointed about, but you'd still fancy him to get back amongst the goals this week.
Gouffran playing well, but he's playing in the midfield, which makes him sort of pretty much unbackable.
It's not so much that he's unbackable. I think he is, but his returns have come at home. He's scored in each of his 3 last Premier League appearances at St James's Park, whereas away from home he hasn't really been doing a whole lot. So it would suggest to me that the way Newcastle are set up to go on the attack at home, it suits Gouffran a lot better.
I have to talk about Shola Amiobi for just a second. It's done very well since one of the other ones, one of our previous favourites, Ben Arfa, has been dropped. And they seem to be putting Shola Amiobi up front and then playing off him. It seems to have worked.
He's not even getting a whole lot of game time.
No, well,
he's doing a very good job for the team. I mean, he's helping them, I suppose, be a bit more sturdy and a bit more structured up front. But he's 32 now, so he's kind of hitting that twilight of his career. Many would have expected him to disappear. Obviously, he's forced his way back into the team, maybe helped by that appearance in that friendly. I just don't see. I don't recall him scoring any goals this season.
No, but I'm just saying he could have a big week at some point, and for 4.8, he could prove to be a very good value striker some game week. Not this one. I'm just saying. I was just saying. Check him out.
No, I think Paul's right. I think he's doing a good job for the team. I think the way Newcastle are set up, it works quite well with Remy running off him. Especially with Amiobi's ability to hold the ball up and knockdowns and everything else. So, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be looking at him.
Okay, let's talk about one of the super teams, Fulham. Yes, they're in London, and Paul, that was my Dutch accent, by the way. Just Phil was going,
gone?
what the... Yeah, but there's another one in there now.
I thought Martin was coming onto the pod. Damn. Yeah, I'm very interested. Very dangerous thing to do. If that was, if you didn't get such a good payoff as football managers do, they would have. They'd be in the labour course for that.
£850,000.
Yeah, so you're not going to moan at that, are you?
I'd leave my job, just in case anyone... I'd leave my job for £850,000. Any time.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Just anyone out there?
Yeah.
Bueller? Ferris?
Bueller.
Fulham didn't have a single shot on target last weekend. One single shot. Not one was on target. That's...
They didn't really look interested.
No, they didn't look interested. I know, and I think
Michael Corkin said they looked like they were trying to buy an ice cream on a Sunday afternoon in a queue.
Oh, no, I want ice cream.
Spurs, you've just had your breakfast, Ross. Spurs hold their away to Fulham, London derby. Fulham with a new manager. Spurs on the back of it was a good 2-2 draw with United, especially after the back of the drubbing by Manchester City. What'll Spurs' outlook on into this game be, Paul?
Score.
They'll obviously be looking at this as a game where they can win, they can get some goals, and they can sort of quiet the fans with that driven agenda against AVB. I think they were more fortunate against United than anything else. It was kind of more United being poor, which actually gave them the opportunity to get into winning position. I didn't see any spectacular play from them. They're still struggling. I mean, they're carrying Soldado. I don't know how long you can keep playing a man who's not scoring.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice to see Defoe thrown in there. Whether we will or not, I'd be very, very.
Well, he's Spurs' top scorer, 9 goals, and not one of them has been in the Premier League.
Yeah, but I mean, part of that is you're playing against teams in Europe who I've never heard of before. Who probably aren't pretty good.
But we all know strikers. Strikers. It's a confidence business. The man's scoring goals. He's got the confidence. He's scored everywhere he's been throughout his career. You've got Soldado that isn't scoring goals. Defoe, who knows where the net is. I don't get it personally. I don't understand it. But AVB's been in the game a bit longer than me, and hopefully would know a bit more. But I do
probably
wonder.
Not much longer.
No, that's true. Not much.
No. You're getting there now, Phil.
I know, yeah. But I mean, prior to Spurs' game with United at the weekend, excluding penalties, that actually failed to score with any of their last 78 attempts on goal. So they had excluding penalties before the game at White Hart Lane on Sunday. It's 78 attempts on goal and failed to score.
That's fairly consistent.
If we look at the 2 goals they did score, I mean, the wall was terrible.
Shocking.
Super free kick, bad wall. And then Sandro basically made Cleverly just look like a fool running around him. And then, when someone pings at the top corner, you have to applaud them.
There's nothing you can do.
But again, United's poor midfield just let him do that. Probably highlighting Cleverly maybe not good enough for United, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, I thought Johnny Evans was pretty poor as well. I mean, Paulinho was mid-dive and then he tackled him.
Yeah.
He ruined a perfectly good dive. And I just heard some United supporters giving out about Paulinho saying he dived. It was a foul all day long for me. But
Jose Paulo Bezerra Machel Jr.
He's the one Tottenham player I'll be backing this week.
That's Paulinho, by the way. That's his proper name.
Tricky, that, isn't it? You never remember that. Even if he's your best mate, you'd be like, alright.
That's why he's called Paulinho, because no one's gonna.
Yeah.
That's why we call you Paul, even though your name is something completely different that we'll never mention on the pod.
Paulinho is going to get points. He gets a lot of chances, so that's where it's coming from. Obviously, then Bealey was at Fulham. He should always be in the team for me at Tottenham. They played him the weekend. He did very, very well. And then, off the back of that, what Fulham needs is a reaction. Rennie needs to go in there and kind of get them all running, get them all working hard, throw away the people who don't want to work in January.
Well, he's already started now. I think he released a statement this morning, said that they need to buy players, which puts everyone basically on the transfer list.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do. So we might actually see a performance where they work. So I mean, it's a potential banana peel for Tottenham, but I would still expect them to go out and get. Actually, I see this as a dare draw, lads, to be honest. Or if not, Paulinho to pop up and get a goal or an assist or something like that. And from Fulham, I mean, they have a lot of great players, but it's the question of who is he going to like. I mean, is he going to play Berbatov because Rennie knows him from his Man United days, and of course he's ex-Tottenham, you always like to get a goal against your old club. There's a whole lot of that kind of stuff in this fixture. So really, I wouldn't be gambling on Berbatov. I'd be going, Paulinho if I was picking one person out of this fixture.
All right, super Spurs. Right, let us move on. The last of the best of the rest games. I think there'll be a little bit of interest here. West Brom and Manchester City. Let's start with West Brom first. Probably quicker to go through. Leave it.
I'm done.
Yeah. And City?
Usual suspects for City, I suppose. Just one word of caution for fantasy managers. All of a sudden, are very excited by Samir Nasri's prospects after he picked up 2 goals. The last time he scored more than 1 goal in a Premier League game was anyone?
Arsenal.
Yeah. Against?
United 2-1, was it?
No, Fulham, 4th of December 2010. So I wouldn't be getting overly excited about Nasri. However, if you do want to get excited about something, Alvaro Negredo has now scored 8 goals in his last 7 appearances in all competitions, and is certainly one that's crawling or shooting up the radar at this point.
9.2 if you were...
Genuine.
Yeah.
He genuinely looks as good as Aguero as well. That's the scary thing with him.
Yep.
And Aguero had some very, very poor misses the weekend.
He did. But Aguero's likely to do that from time to time, and we've seen it. We've seen it last season, especially after the great form he showed in his first season at City. Last year, he was frustrated. He did miss a lot of opportunities like that, and he does have a tendency to do that. I mean, am I going to sell him at the moment? No, but if I was going to sell him, I'd bring in Negredo. So it's worth looking at. And City, we know City have been rampant at home, but it's another away game. It's that problem again. Are they finally going to click? Like the funny part of it is, right, City have scored 29 home goals this season. That's 2 more goals than any other team in total, home or away. But yet they just can't click. And we spoke about it last week, and we heard Pellegrini's comments on it. I think this week they should eventually do it. I think with Negredo getting in on the act, Nasri getting goals, Yaya Toure I thought had a very good game as well at the weekend, and Fernandinho probably should have scored as well. Actually, you'd have to fancy City. I don't see too much at West Brom really.
Negredo's called the Beast.
He is the Beast.
What does that make Aguero? Not the Beauty.
Paul, anyone there for you that I haven't mentioned? Or
well, let's just explore that for a second. Aguero is now 12.3.
Yeah,
right.
Negredo's 9.2.
Negredo's 9.2. So immediately you're getting 3.1 back, lads. That's just as I say that's beginning to look very tempting. And also what makes it even more tempting, I know it's jumping the gun, Phil. 31.3 people are owning own Aguero, and Negredo is selected by 5.2%. Now, in terms of an early differential, if you've got the balls like you do, he said, try not to look anywhere but your eyes, you might say, let's go for it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't say let's go for it, but the person who I was up against in my head-to-head league decided that let's go for Negredo, and not only that, let's make him captain. So from coasting ahead on Saturday, I lost on Sunday.
So there you have it. So Paul, I mean, obviously Phil is a little bit burned by this choice. That's why his defences are up. But what do you think about the logic of shipping Aguero out early and getting Negredo in? I know we know what Aguero can do, but sometimes you gotta just throw it all up in the air and have a go.
It's one of these where the grass does seem greener because of the performances Negredo has put in recently. I mean, for me, there's very, very little to put between them, but there is the fact that Negredo just doesn't play as much. So, having said that, you might be less frustrated some weeks. Well, look, 6 goals, 3 assists. I mean, if it gives you a stronger all-round team, why not? So, for example, if you're carrying a very cheap third striker, or if your midfield only really has 2 good players, and all of a sudden 3 million would make a difference and bring in an Ozil or a Suarez also into your team somewhere else. That's when it makes sense, because the 2 players combined will get more points than Aguero then.
Indeed.
It is. Listen, there's no doubt about it. It's an interesting prospect and one we'll have to think about. But for me, I'm just going to hold fire. I'm going to keep Aguero for the moment.
All right, he's on my watch list. I warn you all. I haven't bought him now, so he'll probably
don't buy him. He'll ruin it.
Well, Paul, I have my my punch on for making disastrous transfers.
I thought that had finished last season.
Yeah, so did I. I was sort of hoping before I brought Skirtland this week, and and I also brought an Oscar this week, which meant he limped off with an injury. But that's how I roll.
Injured and own goals.
That's it. That's me. That's me. That's me. The Nexus of Doom. Right. That is best of the rest. I think we will go straight to captain's tips now. Now, it looks like Arsenal and Liverpool are the obvious places to look for a captain, but Phil, your mind doesn't work as simply as mine. Thank God.
I think I might do it this week.
Hey. Sorry for the big up.
Yeah. No,
is anyone going to pick Suarez as captain?
No.
I don't have him.
I don't have him either.
I have him, yeah. He's not going to be my captain, though.
Really? You're probably one of the only people. I reckon everyone is going to go Suarez.
That's why I'm not.
Who are you going for?
I'm probably gonna hang it on Oscar.
Oscar.
Yeah, assuming he starts.
Chelsea
Even though we spoke about maybe not being fitter players.
I think at the moment we haven't heard it. So, but I'm just that's where I listen. Before this happened, I was looking at it. That's where I was thinking of going. However, should Oscar not start, I'd probably have to put some money on Aguero getting back against the goals against West Brom.
Away?
Yes, even away.
Shocking. Paul?
I am thinking of going with Rooney as captain, home to Everton, his old club.
Yes. Once a blue, always a blue, baby.
Yeah, that's it. those nice Everton away fans are always quick to point that out to him.
Indeed.
And give him that bit of motivation he needs to get those goals. So, if he doesn't do it, I'll shout abuse at him. But hey, I think he'll do it definitely.
Apart from Rooney, where are you going to go for your voice?
I'd pick an Arsenal player. Maybe a Ramsey or an Ozil. I wouldn't be putting too much thought into it. I think they're definitely going to get a few goals. I would be nervous about Arsenal, and I'd be nervous about Luis Suarez doing particularly well this week.
Yeah.
But I still think I'd go Rooney because I just, as Phil says, some of maybe Ramsey at home or sometimes the Arsenal players at home don't quite get the points that they should. It gets spread around the team a bit more as opposed to away from home.
All right, I'm going to contradict that completely. I'm going to go Ramsey as a captain and Rooney as a vice captain. I just think Ramsey, he went to his geographical home, which was Cardiff City at the
Former
week.
club.
Yeah, and former club. Scored twice, didn't celebrate, but I think he's going to want to celebrate. He's been missing the celebration for a couple of days at least, and he's probably going through withdrawal symptoms. He's going to want to go back to the Emirates and keep his run going. So I'm going to captain Ramsey and vice captain Rooney.
Ramsey, Rooney, Oscar are our three captain picks.
I don't know. That's where I'm going. But I mean, I'm being a bit brave here. I'm thinking outside the box. Realistically, I think
Paulie's disagreeing with himself again.
I guarantee that changes by the time Tuesday evening comes around.
I mean, you've got to look. I mean, yes, Suarez against Norwich is one that does stand out. I think he has to be in there amongst our three-man shortlist that we normally will produce on the side every week. I think Suarez may make an appearance on that, but it's a tough one to call.
I can't believe you're so down on Suarez. Liverpool at home against
It's
Norwich.
Not so much Suarez, it's the fact that Sturridge isn't there that's worrying me.
Well, if they start with Coutinho, I guarantee you Suarez will be on for a hat-trick. There you have it. I don't have him, so I'm not considering him. Right, that were captain's picks. Controversial. There is time to tell you about a slightly different time for live time, which is tomorrow being Tuesday night at 7:30 is the deadline. So 6:30 to 7:30, which of your good selves will be on live time duty on the Twitter machine? It's up for grabs, really. The amount of enthusiasm from the Fantasy Premier League Transfers.com team sometimes just intimidates me. But
we haven't decided yet. We haven't decided yet.
When they fight it out between themselves, the whole team will be at your disposal between 6:30 and 7:30 tomorrow, Tuesday, before the deadline, which is at 7:30. We will be back to record another pod on Thursday. Paul, we're dropping you on Thursday, but only so you can have some rest before Gameweek 16. Well, we just decided we were going to.
Your dodgy knees, Paul. We figured you wouldn't be fit enough to do so many games in such short period of time.
I normally don't do 2 in a week, all right.
But that is pretty much it for Gameweek 14. The lads will be available on Twitter.
We will, and
whether they like it or not, tomorrow night.
Yeah, and keep sending us in the screenshots of your teams, guys. We got 1 or 2 of them in. Unfortunately, with the nature of the beast this week, we don't have time to go through them.
We'll go through a good few on Thursday.
We will endeavour to get through as many as we can on Thursday, so you can send them over to me at phil@fantasypremierleaguetransfers.com and
questions, or you can take a screenshot of your whole squad and we'll run
or
down
do
through them.
both. I've a couple sitting there that had both with the screenshot and some questions based around that, so certainly send them into us and we'll do our best to get to them on Thursday. Again, apologies we couldn't do it today.
Yes, it is Monday morning as we're recording this, and we're all about to go to our real jobs. So thank you very much for your time, Phil and Paul, and we will be back on Thursday with a full preview of Game Week 15. But until then, best of luck with Game Week 14 for everyone apart from Phil.
Hey!
Thanks, Paul. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Phil.